Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing It Came From the Network. Topic of this It Came From the Network, WCW/MTV snowbrawl. Now if you watched my last It Came From the Network, we covered beachbrawl, and I kind of talked about this being a thing with the help of my good friend Bucky749, who reminded me of the name of it. I was able to go back and find this as well. Normally I cover stuff you can find on Peacock or the WWE Network depending on where you live, but for this was something I also found on YouTube. There will be a link in the description if you want to watch a video for this. We grade everything here on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. And for this, we're going to just rate the entirety of the show because it's only one match that appears here. So we're going to all just lump everything together as one. Let's jump right into it. We start off with the Nitro Girls dancing to Pretty Fly for a White Guy by The Offspring. And if you were to say to me, George, give me a moment that screams 1999 or late 1998, I would say to you, MTV showing WCW wrestling while the Nitro Girls dance to Pretty Fly for a White Guy. This encompasses everything that was popular at the time, or a lot of things that were popular at the time. Pretty cool opener. It's always fun to see the Nitro Girls. That's followed up by being introduced to our announce team, which for this is going to be Jimmy the Mouth of the South Heart, Larry Zbyszko, the Living Legend, and Rob Zombie. Now, with this, and I'm probably going to compare the two shows a lot just because of the nature of them. The format's very similar. They're both MTV specials, so it makes it easy. As compared to last time, where the announce team was Raven, Kid Rock, and Jimmy Hart, I think this was a better announce team as far as calling wrestling matches. Rob Zombie seemed to be more in tune to the product, or at least enjoying what he was seeing in front of him, than Kid Rock was. However, I do feel the banter between Kid Rock and Raven gave a different dynamic than this does. Both are good, just both two different styles in my opinion. After that, we're introduced to our guest announcer, and this was someone I forgot was a thing and existed, and that's Stuttering John from the Howard Stern Show. It's probably been at least a decade and a half since I thought of Stuttering John and just how big he was. I mean, he was pretty much everywhere. He was at every movie premiere, at every award show. I mean, obviously he was on the Howard Stern Show, which was the most popular radio show at the time. I believe this was still when his show was on the E! Channel, so it was a really popular TV show as well. He had multi-million selling books, movies. I mean, Howard Stern still is one of the most popular celebrities in the world. But this was probably the peak of Howard Stern's popularity, and here is one of his key members of his Whack Pack in Stuttering John Melendez. He's out there to introduce our combatants, and much like the other show, this is a one-match battle royal, and I'm going to talk about two guys after this that kind of goes out of order here a bit, but I'm going to announce the participants, and then I'm going to announce the two guys that got to do promos as they were announced. So for the participants, we get Conan, Kenny Chaos, Disco Inferno, Billy Kidman, Brian Adams, Wrath, and Booker T. And if you look at this is kind of an interesting grouping of people. I feel the overall star power of Beach Blast was a little bit better. However, this show had a bigger star in Booker T in it. The two wrestlers that were able to get promos, first we got Conan, who did his normal shtick, the Bowdy Bowdy and Rowdy Rowdy, and the crowd was eating it up. It's often overlooked how popular and how important Conan was to WCW's product at the time. I mean, he was so over, either as part of the Wolfpack, the Filthy Animals, everything he did, the fans were right there with him. And I kind of think he's got lost in time. I mean, he still has a very popular podcast with Disco Inferno, but he's not necessarily mentioned as people that were important to that WCW product, and I really do think he was. He was a younger, hipper, kind of more had his hand on the pulse of pop culture, brought in the Hispanic demographic, much like guys like Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero did as well. But I don't think Conan gets the credit that the other guys do. The other guy that got a promo was Brian Adams, who cut a typical heel crapping on the crowd promo. Then that leads us right into our match, which is a battle royal. This time they don't have a band backing it, they're just playing music behind it, which I kind of like the idea of having one band. I understand maybe why they didn't here. It made a little bit more of a variety in the music they played. It was still mostly heavier metal type music with the Deftones being played, and it kind of lends itself to the style of wrestling we saw here. Ultimately, Bryan Adams picks up the win, which I'm kind of surprised they had Bryan Adams out there and they didn't do a Bryan Adams a singer song for his entrance. Not that I'm saying that Bryan Adams a wrestler likes Bryan Adams a singer, but if they're going to use real songs, I mean, it fits. He should have done it. Afterwards, after Adams picks up the win, he's in the ring taking his trophy, where he gets attacked by a guy wearing an event security jacket, which ends up being Conan. So much like the other show where Saturn made the run-in at the end of the show, we see Conan make the run-in at the end of this show. So ultimately a heel wins again, but a face makes a run-in to run him off to let the fans go away happy. I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed both of these. Like I said, there were a lot of similarities. I mean, the same kind of match, same structure, same basic ending, same kind of finish. But overall, I thought they were both good and had their own little qualities that make each one better. I'm a fan of a Battle Royal format, so I'm okay with the match being just a Battle Royal. Would it have been cooler to see one that was a Battle Royal and maybe another one that had a match or two? I mean, we did have 30 minutes, and this was a time where most matches didn't go 10 minutes, so maybe we could have had a Booker T versus Bryan Adams match and a Conan versus Disco Inferno match, or a Conan versus Kidman match, or Kidman versus Disco match. But we didn't. We got the Battle Royal, which I still think is cool. Overall, I found this highly entertaining again. The production led to it being a fun show. The environment was fun. The music behind the matches, the music and the announcer mix wasn't where you could hear one over the other. You could hear both, and both were clear. So it was a perfect mix of that MTV with the music, the wrestling. I really enjoyed this again. It'd be kind of cool to see someone like AEW do this, or even WWE do this again. I don't know if MTV does these specials anymore where they do like Beach Break or the winter, whatever this was, where they went to snowboarding and everything. Every time I turn on MTV now, it's all ridiculousness and no other show, so I don't know what else they play on the channel. I'm sure it's like 16 and Pregnant or Real World Road Rules Challenge number 9,840, or I'm not really sure. All I ever see on the channel is ridiculousness, which is a funny show, especially if you're just watching something to kill time. I know, I'm rambling on. Overall, I thought this was really entertaining. I'm going to give it a 4. It's definitely worth the watch, especially to see that time capsule of that late 90s, to get that vibe of exactly what it was like. Really fun for me. With all that being said, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you see where it says join, that's how you become a channel member. Becoming a channel member definitely helps out. If you made it all the way to the end, let me know what your favorite MTV show was. Was it Road Rules? Was it Real World? Was it Jersey Shore? Robin Big? Let me know what you think. Hit me down here in the comments with your favorite MTV show. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been another It Came From the Network.